You have no idea what you are getting.
The movie starts with their mother and 4 siblings, Sam, Jane, Billy, and Jack, shifting from England to Maine at their mother's home, where she grew up 30 years ago. The house is in dire need of cleaning and it looks abandoned, and it's surrounded by forest. But the mother seems super happy and asks her nervous children to forget the past. And from today, their new lives shall be. Days pass and they all learn to live carefreely. It seems as this they're finally letting go of a bitter past. All the siblings make their first friend, Allie, whom they stumble across in the forest. Everything seems perfect until their mother's health starts to deteriorate, and her condition gets critical on her final days. She calls only on her eldest son, Jack, inside her room and tells him that she has that box of money hidden in her drawer, and Jack throws a fit as to how she could lie in court about it before taking her last breath. She asks Jack to stay hidden with his siblings until he turns 21, or else he'll be separated from them forever by their father. All of the siblings are dead, but they abide by their mother's rules and stay hidden from the outside world until Jack turns 21. One day a mysterious man appears outside the house and shoots at the window. Jane, who is sitting next to the window, peeks outside and with a horrified look on her face, screams at the top of her lungs, calling for Jack. The scene cuts to 6 months later and all siblings seem to be living in their house just fine. But the aura of the house makes them a little bit uneasy. At lunch, Sam tells everyone that he hears the good scream during the middle of the night, and Billy asks him to stop acting like a baby. Later, Jack leaves for town to get some groceries, and on his way back, he visits the library to meet Allie. She kisses him on the lips but is interrupted by a fellow worker, who's also a tax collector. He tells Jack he'll come by tomorrow to ask her mother to sign papers, but for legal reasons, Jack is still pretending as if his mother's alive in front of all outside. He tells the tax collector there's no need to come by and Jack and get the papers signed himself, but the collector says he'll still have to come by for proof. Once back at home, Jack is beyond worried. They need to arrange $200 for the tax collector, but they only have $50 left. Billy suggests getting the box their mother left for them, but Jane is against the idea of having no other option. Billy eventually leaves to find the box that they had thrown away. After their mother passed away, he successfully finds it and brings it back home, but Jane is still against using the blood money because she believes it's cursed. Her brothers are relieved and say they have no other option but to pay the taxes, and if they don't pay, they'll obviously have to leave the house. So hesitantly Jane. The next day before the tax collector arrives, the siblings try to clean the house. Jack prepares lemonade and adds a lot of painkillers to the collector's mug, in case he tries to investigate where their mother is when he arrives. He says he needs to get 2 papers signed by his. Jack says his mother will feel humiliated meeting someone looking so ill, so he'll go upstairs to get everything signed by his mother upstairs. Jane is the one signing the papers, worried the signatures won't look alike on all sheets. The tax collector, without permission, comes inside the house and is outside Jack's mom's room, but thankfully Jane signs the papers in time before the collector can come in. Later we get to know this was the last payment into. After this, the house is officially declared their mom's instead of their dad's, who mingled in some unethical business at night. The siblings celebrate by playing a board game. Billy's dice roll onto the floor and down the stairs. Sam goes to fetch them, but on his way back, a large mirror on the wall covered by cloth gets uncovered on its own. It turns out, it actually does reside behind the mirror and it needs to be covered at all times in an instant. All of the siblings rush inside a fort made of pillows to be together and feel safe. Jack asks everyone to stay inside and goes out alone to cover the glass, startled by rats in the ceiling. He falls down, blacking out. When he wakes up, he finds himself inside the fort. Jane starts crying that the ghost is back because they used the curse. The next day, Sam refuses to get out of the fort, so Jack takes him to his room's window and shows him Allie's farm far away. Allie and Jack have made their own language of communicating through blinking study lamps. He makes Sam say hi to her through the flashing of lights and Ellis replies, which makes Sam Superman. The next day in the morning, Jack goes to meet Allie at the beach. She asks about his father. He doesn't give any details but tells him he was a monster, and he's the reason why they all had to shift to here from far away. The tax collector enviously spies on them as they lock lips and then take a stroll. Once back at home, Jack gets into a fight with Billy for breaking his own rules about unnecessarily going. Billy is afraid. Jack will tell Allie their reality. The fight stresses Sam, and to feel better, he goes upstairs to his mother's room, secretly taking the keys. He looks at their family picture and plays some music on the music set. He takes it out from the cupboard, looking around. He finds a bullet hole in the window, so he stands on a stool to touch it, but trips instantly. A cloth covering the mirror on the cupboard also falls and starts to rise up in the shape of a human. Sam screams, calling upon Jack to hide in another cloth. Billy and Jane's SPECT. It's their father's ghost lurking upstairs because he never got a proper burial. Speaking of a proper burial, what do they do with the mother? Either way, Jack is disturbed by the thought of going back to England to give their father the proper grave later. It works. The tax collector comes to Allie and proposes to her because he's gotten a better working position and new. She declined his offer to marry and asks him to leave because she was simply not interested. This angers the tax collector and he leaves a folder containing all information about Jack and his family behind for her to see and be warned. Allie picks up the folder from the table and finds newspaper articles about Jack's father violating his own daughter and terminally hurting people, and eventually even escaping from prison. She also finds out that the siblings and their mother were accused of stealing €10,000 worth of blood money, which belongs to the father's back of the Marrow-Bone house. Jane climbs up the stairs to feed a raccoon in the ceiling through a crack. She puts her hand in the crack to pet him but gets startled by his hand touching hers instantly. She takes her hand out and rushes to the washroom to wash it with soap. Frustrated and scared, she throws around everything inside. On the other hand, Let's Ask a collector gets a call at the office from his boss saying he can no longer move to New York, and instead, he has the opportunity to think about being a partner in the firm with 10% shares for €10,000. Upset by the news, he says he'll let them know by Monday, and as soon as the call ends, he throws around all the documents on the table. He finds an article on the floor about €10,000 missing after capturing Jackson. He also notices the signatures done by Jack's mom on paper several days ago seem sketchy later. The tax collector visits the Marrow-Bone estate. He blackmails Jack for the €10,000 because he knows that their mom is dead. He gives Jack time to discuss it with his siblings till tomorrow. Jack is distressed because the Marrow-Bones had thrown that money box down the chimney because Jane kept getting paranoid about the ghost in their attic to keep the family together. Billy decides to climb down the chimney with a matchbox as his light source. There's a dark and smelly attic under the chimney where he stumbles upon the dead raccoon. Finally finding his way to the box, Billy grabs the box and proceeds to climb up the chimney with the help of a rope. Suddenly the ghost appears and twists the rope around Billy's neck and starts pulling him. Thankfully, Billy has a pocket knife with which he cuts the rope, sets himself free, and hurriedly climbs up the chimney. This confirms that the ghost is actually real and it wasn't just their parents. Upstairs, Jack is aware of Billy's mission until he sees Jane helping Billy wash off the blood from a deep wound in his stomach. Billy claims it's not just a ghost upstairs. Their father is still alive, living in the chimney, feeding on animals, and drinking rainwater. His siblings find it hard to believe, but suddenly Jack just falls down, goes unconscious, and starts having. James says they need to tell Allie because she's the only one who can save Jack, and despite Billy disagreeing, she asks Allie to meet tomorrow through the lights. The next day, Allie visits the cave to wait for the Marrow-Bones, but they don't show up to kill time. She reads a diary she finds, which was left there by Jane. Alice finds out that the Marrow-Bones' mother had passed away a long time ago and Jack was supposed to stay hidden until he turned 21, so he could be the legal guard. Meanwhile, the tax collector is inside the Marrow-Bones estate with them, nowhere in sight. He starts looking around for the money, removing the cloth from all mirrors, and finds a weird fortlet, turns more pages and finds out that the Marrow-Bones' father had come that day and shot at the window. "You've come here to take the blood money back." Jack locked all his siblings in the attic and goes to his father outside to return the blood money in a civilized manner, but his father tries to finish. In defense, Jack sliced a screwdriver inside his father's throat, but he still stood on his feet trying to hurt his son. And to think all this for €10,000 throwing Jack off the cliff. The father went inside the house, jumped into the chimney and found the rest of his childhood hiding in the attic. Meanwhile, Jack regained consciousness, grabs his father's gun, and rushes back inside the house. When Jack runs back home and stands outside the attic calling for his siblings, all he can hear is silence, and he realizes his siblings are no more, and his father asks Jack to open the door from the outside. The moment Allie realizes this in the diary, simultaneously the tax collector finds the rotting. This reflects how after the death of his siblings that day onwards, Jack had developed a personality disorder where he would act out like his siblings since he couldn't bear the pain of losing them, and his mirrors reflected only his reflection. He covered all the mirrors. Allie also discovers that Jack had locked his dad in the chimney, and after some days, all the noises from up there had stopped coming, so he assumed his father had passed away. Allie rushes to the Marrowbones house and is stunned by all the broken mirrors and signs from the diary she just read. She hears Jack talking from inside the fort and crawls inside to see Jack sitting inside, talking to himself and acting out like his siblings. That's when we also see that he's the one who actually got a wound on his stomach. This means is Billy's character. He had gone down the chimney to get the box of money. Instead of being scared, Allie is just sad and starts crying. Jack asks Allie to leave, so she starts looking for Tom. She climbs up the attic and finds Sam, Billy, and Jean's corpses. Then she looks at the corner and finds Tom on the verge of dying with a deep cut on his. When she asks him who did this, he looks behind her. She turns around and sees an almost mummy-looking being. It turns out to be the Marrowbones' father, who isn't actually dead. Allie screams, calling for Jack. She challenges the father and tells him she's not scared because she has Billy, Jane, Sam, and Jack with her. When she calls for Billy, Jack, thinking that he's Billy, rushes to save Allie. When Jack enters the attic, he sees his father strangled. Jack swings out his gun and shoots his father dead in one shot. Fast forward to the future. Allie now lives with Jack and has revamped the entire house to make it look like an actual home. Jack is on medication, which according to the doctor will help Jack with his personality disorder. Allie is the only one who knows Jack still sees his siblings, but she chooses to spend the rest of her life with Jack. It's a crazy sacrifice. Do you think you could do it? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss the next recap. Until next time.
Please subscribe, and then click the